The Pirates of Taratupa, The Misadventures of McHale's Navy. Chapter 1. The Admiral and the Acid Reflux. The humidity on the island of Taratupa was the kind of thick, soul-crushing moisture that could turn a crisp naval uniform into a soggy dishcloth in under 60 seconds. For Captain Wallace B. Palliser, Hondry Site, Palliser, Binghamton, known, affectionately, behind his back as Old Leadbottom. It was just another day in a tropical purgatory populated by incompetent subordinates, and one particular thorn in his side, Lieutenant Commander Quinton McHale. Binghamton sat in his office, clutching a bottle of antacids as if it were a holy relic. His stomach was currently staging a coup. "Garter belts!" he roared, slamming a requisition form onto his desk. "I am the commanding officer of this base, not a haberdasher. If the nurses need garter belts, tell the supply officer to snap to it." His faithful, albeit dim-witted, aide, Lieutenant Elroy Carpenter, hovered nearby like a nervous moth. "Sir, I have more news. Dire news. I just got a message from a pal of mine at Confleet." Binghamton froze, a pill halfway to his mouth. "Not a transfer? Please tell me I'm being transferred to a desk in Nebraska." "Was, sir. Admiral Rafferty is arriving today on a sneak inspection." Binghamton's face went through several shades of purple. "Iron Pants, Rafferty? Coming here? Now? Have you seen the state of this place? The Petty Officers Club has sinks backing up. The PT-73 crew is likely running a moonshine still in the lagoon, and my blood pressure is high enough to power a destroyer." He grabbed the telephone, shouting at the operator. "Yes, this is Binghamton. Who did you expect? Tokyo Rose? Listen, the sinks are backing up. I'm the commanding officer, not a plumber. Do something." As he hung up, a devious, desperate thought began to sprout in his mind. It was a thought born of pure, unadulterated cowardice. If he were sick, truly, incapacitatedly ill, he couldn't be held responsible for the chaos Rafferty would inevitably find. "Carpenter," Binghamton whispered, his eyes wide. "If I were sick, I could appoint an acting base commander, someone to take the fall, someone to face the Admiral's wrath." Carpenter nodded slowly. "Sir, I am ready to accept the supreme test." "Not you, you ninny," Binghamton barked. "McHale, Quinton McHale. With that pirate and his cutthroats in charge, they'll run wild. They'll destroy themselves right in front of the Admiral. It's brilliant, absolutely brilliant." Suddenly, Binghamton began to stagger. He clutched his chest with the theatricality of a silent movie star. "Oh, the pain. Carpenter, I do look terribly sick, don't I?" "Terribly, sir." "You look almost green. Call the medic. Quickly. On the double." As the medics arrived, Binghamton made sure to collapse into Carpenter's arms, though the lieutenant failed to catch him properly. "You stupid no-shot." Binghamton hissed from the floor before remembering to groan in feigned agony. "Oh, the illness, the happiest illness of my life." Chapter 2. The Command of the Cutthroats. When Quinton McHale arrived at the hospital, he found Binghamton propped up on pillows, looking like a man who had seen his own execution and was rather pleased with the seating arrangement. "Oh, McHale," Binghamton moaned, his voice a weak reed. "I'm in bad shape. The doctors, they don't know. It could be months." McHale, a man whose rugged exterior hid a mind sharper than a shark's tooth, eyed the captain suspiciously. "But don't worry, the boys and I will give Lieutenant Carpenter all the help he needs." "No!" Binghamton gasped, sitting up with surprising vigor before flopping back. "Carpenter is a boob. A complete boob. I'm appointing you acting base commander, McHale, and your little ensign, Parker. He'll be acting executive officer." Ensign Charles Parker, standing behind McHale, let out a squeak of pure joy. "Me? Executive officer? Oh boy. Skipper, did you hear that? I'm an exec." McHale tried to protest. "Sir, I'm a saltwater skipper. I'd be no good behind a desk." "It's an order, McHale. Now get out." "Out." My stomach acid is starting to boil. The moment the door closed, McHale and Parker walked onto the base as the new masters of Taratupa. It took exactly 15 minutes for the McHale method to take hold. The Petty Officers Club was still flooded, but now the men were using it as a makeshift swimming pool. The garter belts had been found, but the crew of the PT-73 had repurposed them as slingshots for a high-stakes target practice game. Executive Officer Parker here. Parker shouted into a telephone, his voice cracking with unearned authority. Yes, the garter belts are on the way. And tell the CBs to keep their heads down at the rifle range. What? The range is in the middle of the supply route? Well, tell them to duck. Meanwhile, Gruber, the crew's resident entrepreneur, was already setting up a cultural exchange in the air raid shelter. Come on, boys. Full speed ahead. The skipper said, It's okay. Open up shop. Within the hour, the base had transformed. There were hula dancers, a gambling ring involving hermit crabs, and a general sense of festive anarchy. It was exactly what Binghamton had hoped for, a disaster in the making. Chapter 3. The Sultan and the High Seas Farcery. The anarchy was interrupted by a signal from Comfleet. A Sultan Karim of Mirani was arriving with his 3 daughters. Their plane had developed engine trouble near the island of Samura, and the PT-73 was the nearest vessel. Binghamton, watching from the hospital window with a pair of binoculars, seethed. A Sultan? And McHale is rescuing him? This was supposed to be a disaster, not a diplomatic triumph. On the PT-73, McHale greeted the Sultan with all the grace a man in a tattered Hawaiian shirt could muster. Greetings, Your Highness. I'm Commander McHale. We're here to serve you. The Sultan, a man of immense dignity and even more immense luggage, gestured toward his daughters. I travel with my most valuable possessions. But tell me, these men, are they to be trusted? At that moment, Ensign Parker caught sight of the princesses. Wowie, wow, he stammered, his eyes nearly popping out of his head. The Sultan's face darkened. Like a chicken? Did he just make the sound of a barnyard fowl at my daughters? McHale stepped in quickly. No, sir. That's a ceremonial greeting in our country. Very respectful. Very traditional. The voyage back to Taratupa was a nightmare of etiquette and mechanical failure. The Sultan, fascinated by the boat, insisted on steering. May I? The Sultan asked, grabbing the wheel. By all means, sir, Parker chirped. It's quite relaxing. Seconds later, the PT-73 was zigzagging across the lagoon like a drunken dragonfly. Back at the base, Binghamton had miraculously recovered just in time to host a dinner for the Sultan. He was determined to regain control and, more importantly, to humiliate McHale. Your Highness, Binghamton said. On the contrary, the Sultan replied, he is a most efficient officer, and his men, so colorful. But Binghamton had a plan. He knew that McHale's crew had sneaked one of the princesses out for a boat ride. To cover the absence, the crew had dressed up the brawny, hairy-chested radio man, Willie, in a veil and silks. During the Sultan's traditional dance, Binghamton pounced. Sir, one of these girls is an impostor, a phony. He grabbed the veiled princess and yanked. The veil fell away to reveal Willie's confused, bearded face. Aha! Binghamton screamed. A man! You've been deceived, Your Highness. The Sultan stood up, trembling with rage. You dare to lay hands on my retinue? You dare to accuse my daughters of being bearded? No, sir. I meant, enough. I shall report this outrage to Washington. You are a stupid infidel, Captain. As the Sultan stormed out, Binghamton stood in the middle of the mess hall, holding a piece of silk and looking at a very apologetic Willie. Why me? Binghamton whispered. Why is it always me? Chapter 4. The Laughing Gas and the Iron Pants. The Sultan's departure left a vacuum of chaos that was quickly filled by the arrival of Admiral Iron Pants Rafferty. Binghamton, desperate to save his career, decided that the only way to explain the base's state was to claim he was suffering from combat fatigue and that McHale was a hallucination. Hallucinations, Admiral, Binghamton cried.